I think, when you really love, you can feel sad, but you never give up. What happened with Nervosa was not common. I changed all the lineup, and the band is bigger than before now, and everyone, like it so much. More fans became fan of Nervosa. Yeah, it's incredible, and I'm very grateful for this.
Hey, what's up, Vox and Hops heads? I'm Matt, the vocalist of Cryptopsy and the host of the Vox and Hops Metal Podcast, brought to you by Sound Talent Media, where I sit down with fellow metal musicians to talk about their lives, music, and craft beer. I hope you had an excellent weekend. I most certainly did. It was my first weekend back after sober February, and I gotta tell you that I enjoyed life, metal, and craft beer to the fullest. It was a great weekend, and I hope that you did the same. This Vox and Hops Metal Podcast episode is presented by Heavy Montreal. Heavy Montreal is Montreal's premier metal promoter when there isn't a global pandemic crippling the music industry. They normally put on a bunch of sick metal shows throughout the year, but not only that, they also put on one of North America's best metal festivals, and when I say this, it's the absolute truth. Being from Montreal and having a top-tier festival such as Heavy Montreal is truly something that I'm incredibly proud of. I've played festivals all over the globe, and honestly, Heavy Montreal is up there with the best of them. I'm super stoked to have Heavy Montreal behind the Vox and Hops Metal Podcast. Before we jump into today's episode, I would just like to encourage you to subscribe to the Vox and Hops Metal Podcast on the podcast platform of your choice. But more than that, I'm also asking you to rate it and write a review, because when you do that, more metalheads just like yourself will be able to discover the Vox and Hops Metal Podcast. And that would be something that I would truly appreciate. I'd also like to invite you to the party. That's right, sign up to the Vox and Hops Metal Podcast's mailing lists. You can do that by going to my website, voxandhops.com. That is voxandhops.com. And when you do that, you shall receive one email a week containing all of the details of everything that has happened throughout the past week in the world of the Vox and Hops Metal Podcast, including all the details for any episodes which I dropped throughout that previous week, as well as all the details if I have been a guest on someone else's podcast. There will also be the links for the upcoming live interview Thirsty Thursday virtual hangs, and of course the links to the Brutal Awakenings playlist, which is available on Apple Music and Spotify and is curated by my man Jerry Monk, the metal architect himself. Do yourself a favor, people, sign up to the Vox and Hops' Metal Podcast's mailing list, because this is a party that you do not want to miss. Now, on today's episode, I'm very stoked to be with Prika Amaral of Nervosa. Get ready, everyone. This is Vox and Hops episode number 239.
I warn you, what you are about to hear is very disturbing indeed.
Hey, what's up, everyone? Today I'm with Prika Amaral of Nervosa, and I am super stoked to be back with you. We haven't seen each other in quite some time. We actually played a show together quite a few years ago. I want to say 3 to 4 years ago in London. It was very 5 years ago. Jesus, time goes, eh? But it was a great night. It was with Brujeria and you guys at the Dome in London. It was a crazy night. How are you doing?
Yeah, I'm fine. And now it's summer in Brazil. Of course, there is a COVID situation. I'm blocked here in my house, but I live in the middle of nowhere. So everything is fine here.
That's amazing. I like to always start with a complex question recently. How did you cope with 2020?
For me, it was a revolution year, and for me, the things became to be better in my life. Now I have a new band with a new energy, with a music that I 200% I love, and we have a really good, relationship between all the girls. We could record, we could do many things together. So yes, if it was not the COVID situation, everything was perfect. But of course, it was a sad year because of all the situation around the world. But it was a time to think more about everything. So I think it's a very important year.
Very cool. And I do agree with that, 2020 gave us all the time to just slow down a little bit because we're so busy all the time, especially touring musicians. We just never stop. There's always one thing, and then we finish the one tour, we're already imagining the next tour. We don't actually appreciate what we're doing. So I know the next time I'm going to climb onto a stage and look at it, a crowd of people going ape shit because I won't play a show until we can do that. I'm going to just take that extra second just to look out there and be like, appreciate it.
Yes, exactly. Exactly what you told. It's for a long time, for many years, I mean almost 8 years, I've not been having so much time to do anything than the band. So for the first time I had time to do many things. Of course not going outside, but inside of my house to learn some stuff, to have some time to really chilly or something like that. And yeah, but now it's a time to stop, please, because I need to go. Yeah,
You've done it all. Your bucket list is clean.
exactly. It's enough. It's more than enough. I mean,
Vox&Hops is all about hanging out with my metal friends and talking about their lives, music, and craft beer. What beer do you have on your side there, Prika, that we're going to share today?
look, this so beautiful.
Oh my God. No way. This
Yeah,
is incredible because
Reddish.
I have the
Woo!
same beer. How did this happen? I'll tell you how this happened. I have very good friends here in Montreal from OverHop Canada, who are actually a sister company to the Brazilian
Yeah,
Rio-based OverHop in Brazil. Shout out to the OverHop Canada team, Patty, Tatiana, Gabriel, Ricardo, and Alexandra. Just so cool. I hit them up and I said, I'm having a chat with Prika. Do you think that you can get her some OverHop beers and then we could actually drink the same beer? Now, I wasn't expecting to drink the exact same beer, but that's what they did. They sent us both the Reddish, which just came out here in Montreal extremely recently. All of the beers that they make here in Montreal are based upon recipes that they've perfected in Brazil. So let's crack these open. And a huge thank you to Overhop for making this happen because it's just too cool. I haven't shared a beer, the exact same beer with a guest in a long time. So let's crack these open. Let's see what this
yeah.
Reddish has. It is a
It,
double red hoppy beer. Clocks in at 7.9%, which is surprising.
yeah. I love. For me, the best sound in the world is this sound.
Yes.
Oh my god. Mm.
So pours out nice
Wow.
and reddish.
They
A little brownie.
they smell. It's
Cheers.
awesome.
Cheers.
Cheers.
And cheers to Overhop. Thank you again. Ooh, this is good. A little sweet.
Mmm.
Bitter bite.
Tasty.
Nice malty finish. Just delicious.
Yeah.
Interesting. I love it. I love it. Cheers. So stoked that this actually worked out. Let's talk about beer, of course. Take me back to your very first beer. Do you remember the first beer that you've ever drank, Prika?
Probably shit beer. Because here in Brazil we have good beers, of course, mainly the handmade beers, you know, but the small industries are very good, but the big industries are not so good. And in the season that I tried for the first time, beer was, you know, nothing for Brazil, like, very shit beer. So it was very sheepy and shit beer. And I don't remember, but anyways, I love it. I love it, you know,
So
because
you
I
are
love beer.
so you are a beer drinker, which is I love it. Let's talk about the craft beer scene in Brazil because I know how vibrant it is because of my relationship with Overhop, having spoken with Tatiana and Patty, who grew up home brewing and getting into the whole home brewing competitions. They've told me it's just insane. So what is your experience with the Brazilian craft beer scene?
Oh, there's a lot of good companies from the last 10 years now. It's growing in Brazil, you know, this kind of thing. And I love it because the beer is even better now in Brazil. And we have some kind of company like OverHop here in Brazil. And this is awesome because always when I have some friends outside of Brazil, like in Europe, USA, Canada, outside, and I always presented this kind of beer, the craft beers, because this is very good.
I love it. I love it. What would be your go-to style if you're going out and you're going to buy your own beers instead of them coming to your house to have a chat with me? What style would you gravitate towards?
I love drinking a bar with a lot of friends, with the fans, doing parties. I love parties, Yeah, I speak a lot of, jokes and bullshit, and happy and loud and drink with no stop to the end of the night when you are very tired and you can walk, almost can't walk anymore. For me, this is the perfect situation.
But what would be your favorite style of beer?
IPA is my favorite one. Yeah.
I love them too. I love them very much. Let's move into the soundtrack of your youth. When you were growing up in your parents' or guardians' house, what music was playing when you were not in control of the radio? What music did your parents or guardians listen to?
Oh, my family is very rock, and we always listen something like a Led Zeppelin, but old school rock. And I'm a huge fan of 70s rock, like Grand Funk Railroad, Jimi Hendrix, Deep Purple, and all these kind of things that teach everyone how to play metal today. This for me is the roots,
The foundation of it all.
Exactly.
What would have been the first band that you just gravitated towards that was your band? It wasn't your family's band. It wasn't the Big Brother's band. Something that you treasured, that you discovered that was your.
Led Zeppelin, with no doubt. Yeah, it was the first band and the first music that I listened in my life was Led Zeppelin, because my mom is a huge fan of Led Zeppelin, so she had a lot of vinyl, and I was looking all the art covers, and I was dreamy because it's psychedelic, and I was like with the 2 years old, 3, I was traveling, I was in a trip with these art covers, and this is unforgettable for me, and this inspired me a lot to play guitar as well, because Jimmy Page is the king of the riffs.
And you always gravitated towards guitar. Guitar was your first instrument. It's something that you always wanted to do.
Yeah. I think it was very natural, I think it was not something that I choose, because I think this was in my destiny, before I have idea what it was this, because it was very natural. I never had, I never wanted to play another instrument. I love other instruments. For example, I love drums because I think that it's very fun to play drums, and it's very, good. Of course, I like bass because there is a very good. I love all the instruments. Really want to play, to be a musician, and other instruments is not big part of me. It always was guitar.
I love it. I love it. I love it.
Yeah.
We have to talk about the Brazilian metal scene. Me being from Montreal, it was very realistic that you could start a band, find like-minded musicians. You go to the jam space, you cross, despised icons walking around. Before I was in Cryptopsy, members of Cryptopsy were walking around. So it's very realistic that you can make it and start a band and make it. Was it like that in Brazil, or did it seem farther away?
Look, I born in a very small city in Brazil, so the reality here is completely different to the reality in São Paulo. So my history, it's half was here in my small city and half was in São Paulo. But when I started here in a small city, and everything is very difficult because there is no place to play, or even in that season there didn't exist any place to rehearsal. We
you had to have cool parents.
Yeah, exactly. We always practice in a room or in a garage or something like that, and I think it was fun, but if you want to give a tap, if you want to grow this, it's very bad. So that's why I decided to move to another city, a bigger city, one of the biggest city in the world,
Mhm.
because São Paulo has 22 million people just in São Paulo. So I thought, okay, if in that city I can find, musicians to play, I will give up, because if I'm not able to find anyone in São Paulo, I'm not able to find anyone, never, something like this. But I was sure that it was, very possible to live from the music. That's why I moved to the city as well. This kind of passion always was burning inside of me, and it was felt necessary, to go ahead with this. And when I moved to São Paulo, yes, all the doors start to open, and then I start to play in many bands. I start to know many musicians. My first job in São Paulo was in a music store, in a,
Perfect.
yes, for me was very happy. But I changed my job 3 or 4 months after, because it was a very hard job, because I had to work something like 8 9 hours per day, since and even in the Saturdays. So it was very heavy, and I was listening music all the time during the day, and many guys trying the instruments and
Yeah.
play badly, and and when I arrived in my house, I couldn't listen music, and I say, no, this is wrong. I love music, but this music story, it's killing my passion from the music. So I get out from this music store, and I start to work how to say, for the guys that fix the amplifiers and everything's electronic.
Yes, a repair
Yeah,
shop. Yeah.
exactly, repair shop. And this for me was amazing, because I learned it a lot, and today I'm able to fix everything. You
Amazing.
know, Yeah, and I learned a lot about tubes, about speakers, about all the kind of amplifier that existed, in all the world. I saw many things, and this was very rich for my musician career.
And
And
every tour that you've been on, you've saved someone, I'm sure. Because there's always
exactly,
something that breaks on tour every single time.
yes, I'm my own luthier,
That's
and I
amazing.
always, yeah, and I always do all the regulations in my guitars, and I use Floyd Rose, you know, with no fear. It's
Flying
a
everywhere.
hard,
Yeah.
yes, it's a harder relationship when you don't do too much. But now I know everything, and I feel comfortable to work with a Floyd Rose with no problem. So it
That's
was very
awesome.
important.
That's awesome. Let's talk about your first shows. How about the first live music show that you went and saw? What would have been the first band? It doesn't have to be metal, just your first exposure to live music.
Look, I don't remember, because it's a long time ago and my memory is not so good. But I think it was, I don't know the year exactly, but probably around the 1995, 1996, in a country festival here in my city. But there is a lot of rock bands playing, but Brazilian rock, thinking in Portuguese. It's a kind of pop rock with a little bit influence from punk, something like that. And it's a band called Titans. It was a very good experience for me, because it was a big stage, and I felt, that energy in the live crowds, and it was, wow, yeah, this is what I want to do.
This is my home. Yeah.
Yeah.
How about your first time on stage? Do you remember that first show that you played?
Whoa, this is, oh, probably was with my band. Yeah, when I was vocalist, not
Really?
guitarist.
No guitar.
Yeah, it was the unique band that I was vocalist. It was a punk rock hardcore band with a grindcore influence, and I was yeah, it's just something crazy, and I love it. This history. I was the second vocalist, because the first vocalist is a female vocalist as well, and I was the second one singing in guttural in a punk rock hardcore, and it was, it's a very original, and Yeah. And I was in a season that I was, very young, with no any fear, and drinking a lot and enjoying it very crazy, and I almost couldn't sing it because I was very drunk or something like this.
Yeah,
But it
yeah,
was
that's a lesson that we have to learn early on. Best to learn early on. That
yeah,
there is a limit when you're enjoying beer before getting onto a stage to play a show, and you have to learn that
exactly.
limit and respect it.
Exactly. For now, I don't usually drink on tours too much. Very, uh, very some days, just when I met some friends, but I don't drink so much because otherwise I will feel tired. I will get sick, something like that, But in a day off, everything is free, and then I can drink.
Well, when we are on tour, we're there to play the shows. The partying is fun, but the reason we're there is to play the shows. So we have to respect the fans and focus on that.
Exactly.
Let's do some due diligence and talk about Perpetual Chaos, which dropped January 22nd via Napalm Records. Let's talk about this record. You mentioned early on in the interview that a brand new lineup. I'm sure you've spoken about this at length with a bunch of other people, so I don't really want to go there or too much. But you mentioned that you miss them, that you can't be with them right now. So you've spoken at lengths about Perpetual Chaos to a bunch of people. What is the one thing that you haven't said about this in an interview that you would like to say?
So I know that it's, I'm repeating this, but I can hidden this, you know. But I can't wait to release this album. I'm so excited to be on the road to show everyone how the band is working now. And we worked hard in a very short time, but I think everything was very good, and we are very proud of what we are creating together, and we are working even more than before, to give something for the fans, to create more interactive with the fans, doing the documentary of the recordings
That's
that will
very
be
cool.
in 4 pieces. In our first part, in our documentary of the recordings, I show our first meeting in airport, something that the
That's
fans was
so
not
cool.
yeah, it was something that the fans was not expecting, but it was something that that I gift, that I can give it for the fans, for all the love that they send, all the support. So yeah, I can't wait to play in live shows. Yes, and
Me
I'm very
too.
excited, yeah, for everyone to listen this album.
Absolutely. And it is something special, a brand new lineup. You carrying on, pushing Nervosa. What keeps you going? What was that day when you woke up and you're like, okay, brand new lineup. Let's make this happen. What is that driving force that pushes you to go forward to keep Nervosa alive?
Yeah, I think the secret, of everything is to love what you do. And I love what I do. Anything will make me give up from this. Of course, there is some times that we have bad times, but I think, when you really love, you can feel sad, but you never give up. Something like that. You always will find a way to do this stuff, And yeah, I'm very grateful, because what happened with Nervosa was not common, because change all the lineup, mainly the vocalist, it's not easy at all.
No,
And
no.
I changed all the lineup, and the band it's bigger than before now, and everyone like it so much this, and I wasn't expecting a good feedback because I know these girls are awesome. That's why I called them to be Nervosa, but I was not expecting more than, 90% of the people approved the new lineup, and more fans became fan of Nervosa, and you know, yeah, it's incredible, and I'm very grateful for this.
Absolutely. But you also made smart decisions by bringing in members who are already in established acts before, so they're coming joining Nervosa with their own fans. So it's just building and building and building it into this super group just about.
Yeah, exactly.
It's amazing. It's amazing. Let's talk about releasing a record during a pandemic. That must have been something that you had to think about, and Napalm had to think about. Thought how to promote it, how to do that. You're obviously doing 10,000 interviews instead of playing 10,000 shows. Was there ever a moment that you thought about just waiting before releasing it so that you could tour it?
Yeah, I think it's a very good opportunity to work more on the social medias. And for one side, it's better for to be more around the fans, you know. Now we are having time to do more playthrough, the documentary. We will release some videos in our YouTube channel that we are not usually released because we don't have time.
It's true.
And yeah, we create a big web store with our merchandise. Yeah, we're doing some lives, more interviews, because in another albums we didn't have too much time to do all the interviews, and now we're having, we're having time to do many things. Yeah, we have, to use that in our favor, because after this pandemic situation, I'm sure that we will be in 2 years with no break. Easily.
Absolutely. On the road,
Easily.
hitting the
Yeah.
clubs, hitting the festivals. It's going to be amazing. And
Yeah.
part of me wants to fast forward to be there, but I sort of like to, cherish the journey because we're going to grow and learn so much. And it is true that bands should be communicating with their fans more. And that's awesome that you guys are doing that. Let's talk about if there was no COVID, there was no pandemic, if you could handpick the perfect tour lineup to promote Perpetual Chaos to the most amount of people, what bands would be on that tour? Just to, putting Nervosa on a stage in front of the perfect audience.
Look, I like many kind of styles between thrash, death metal. So it's hard for me to choose a pack, because otherwise I will be, not fair with other bands, because I really would like to play with more than, I think, 5,000 bands that, in all the world. But I think the best tour that we can do is with a band that we can learn something, and with friends or people that will become our friends, and where we have a good time. And of course, we have a respect. We understand when the bands are bigger than us and then deserve something special. Of course, this is normal. But we know that some bands have, ego very high, and sometimes they try to, to do some bad things because they are jealous because you are calling too much attention or something bullshit like this. But this is something that happened, and between of these bad things, we always, make some friends, and doesn't matter. But I think the perfect tour is with a band that we can learn and we can make friends and have a party, and situation that we will remember for the rest of our life always.
It's
And
true.
have
The
good
friends that
memories.
the friends that we make on tour, lifelong friends, no matter what happens, you bump into
Exactly,
that person
fans.
again 5 years down the
Exactly.
line, and it's just we're right back there, right back at the dome, having a chat once again. I love it. I love it so much. It's something that I miss, and I can't wait to get back out there. And that is an excellent answer. I like that. And people shouldn't have egos. It's really shitty, and I'm hoping that COVID helps burst a bunch of their ego bubbles. You guys being spread out across the globe, the whole band. Have you guys discussed, or thought about doing any live stream since you
um,
can't?
yeah, for a while we have nothing to do, just wait. But I'm very positive with the vaccine around the world, the vaccination. And I really think that in July, everything will be kind of done, and we can start to be back in our jobs slowly with some restrictions, but it will be getting better and better. And for us, I'm here in Brazil now because we are in pandemic situation. We can't work, and it's a cheaper country, and it's a very good opportunity for me to be around my family as well. But I'm going to move to Europe to be around of the girls, and yeah, all the girls live in the south of Europe, and all the countries are very, around, very near, and it's very cheap and very easy to get a flight and to to be together, to have a rehearsal and tours. We already have some tours confirmed. One in the summer, in European summer. It will be July and August. And yeah, we are crossing fingers for
Yeah, I
this.
was going to say.
Yeah, this tour make part of the last year that was canceled, and then we postponed it for this year. So I really hope that it can happen. We are very excited, and probably will be our first shows. I don't know if we can do before. We will try, of course, to do some shows in their countries. Of example, one show in Spain, another show in Italy, another show in Greece. Of course, in Brazil, it's kind of hard because it's far and expensive to go there. And when we came here in Brazil, we have to do a tour, and
Mhm.
this way we can get the money enough and something like that. But Brazil will have something special after. But I really want to do the three first shows in their countries and all the countries of the group.
I
But
love
let's
that.
see what's happened. Yeah.
Yes, yes.
And sorry, and then we are planning to do a tour in USA and Canada because we are trying for the last 4 years to do this, and it was not possible because we had a lot of shows and the visas was a kind of work. Sometimes the cost it's not enough with the money that we have, something like that. And unfortunately, our tour that was confirmed last year was canceled, but we are working hard. It's our priority to go to USA and Canada.
Awesome. I would love to have you come through Montreal. I'll come. I'll bring you all
Yeah.
kinds of IPAs.
Yes, please.
It's interesting that you're talking about leaving Brazil to move to Europe. It's almost like you're leaving the small village again to go to Sao Paulo to dive into the band to make Nervosa work even better. So here you are this far into your career making those same sacrifices for the band.
Yeah.
It's very
Always,
interesting.
yeah, always doing many sacrifices. I think I sacrificed everything, almost everything in my life. But the fans, all the passion that everyone has, and all the good um, memories that I have, all the friends that I did around the world, this, make everything good, everything worth, and
I love it.
I yeah.
I love it. I love it. I love it. Let's talk about young bands. Now I'm an avid music consumer. I love listening to music. I love listening to new music, especially. What would be a young band, an early release, someone that doesn't have many albums out, that excites you? What is a young band that just makes your mind blow up right
Look, there are some bands. I really hope to remember all of them.
now? They're listening.
Otherwise, yeah. Otherwise, I will wake up in the
Yes.
middle of the night. Holy shit! I forgot to spend something. Yeah, this always happened with me. But for now, I think there's a band from São Paulo that's called it Living Metal. It's heavy metal, traditional heavy metal with a little bit influence from thrash metal. It's an awesome band. Awesome band. It's very fun. They have something original, and it's very good. And I believe so much on this band. There's another band from Mexico called it Introtio. I don't know if you know because they
I
are
do not
ready
know.
to. Yeah, and they are a death metal band, and the vocalists have a really powerful voice, and these girls, because it's a female band, death metal band from Mexico. They are awesome.
Very
awesome.
cool.
I really believe in this band. And oh my God, yeah, it's hard.
You're gonna wake up in the middle of the night in cold sweats.
Yeah.
If you remember any after, just write me and I'll put it in the outro.
Yeah, because there's another band that already released. There's some years of career, and you are asking me for very new.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly.
So
That's what excites me.
I can use this for excuse if I forgot.
Let's talk about beer once more. Let's go back. Would you ever want to make a craft beer for Nervosa?
No, but I'm talking with some companies and studying the best way to do this. And I'm sure that we release beer, cachaça from Brazil, and other stuff that it will be surprise. But I would love to release beer because it's my favorite drink. So it speaks a lot to me.
That sounds amazing, and I'm thirsty, and I want to try it when I get my hands on it. I get a chance to. One last question. Since you like beer so much, but you seem to behave yourself on tour, as you were saying, unless you have a day off. But then the next day, you might feel tired from all the partying. What is your hangover cure?
My hangover what? Sorry?
A cure to make yourself feel better.
Oh yeah. Water. Water. Too much water and sleep. I think there is nothing better than this. But I think hangover make part. You just have to start drink again, and everything will be fine. Your body will be accustomed. Your body will forget because the pleasure to drink beer is bigger than the hangover. About beer hangover, right? Because if you will be other kind of drink, this is not true. The hangover is worse. But for beer, I think the pleasure to drink beer is bigger than the hangover.
Amazing. Prika, thank you so much for taking the time talking about your life, music, and craft beer. I really, really appreciated it. Everyone, go check out Perpetual Chaos. Came out January 22nd via Napalm Records. I know I'm stoked about it. Thank you so much, Prika. Cheers.
Thank you. Thank you so much for this opportunity to talk to you. It passed very fast.
Cheers.
Yeah, cheers.
Hey, thank you all so much for listening right to the end. You know that I love and appreciate that. What an excellent chat I had with Prika. It was great to catch up with her. We hadn't seen each other in quite a few years, but it is always good to catch up with metal friends, no matter how long it's been. Their new album, Perpetual Chaos, is an absolute banger. This new lineup is incredible, just ferocious. I'm loving this record. It came out earlier this year on January 22nd via Napalm Records, and I strongly suggest that if you have not listened to it yet, go back and listen to it. And if you already have listened to it, listen to it again. I am all about Perpetual Chaos. I'm loving the new Nervosa. If you enjoyed this Vox&Hops episode, you should absolutely subscribe to it on the podcast platform of your choice. But more than that, you should also rate it and write a review, because when you do that, more people just like yourself will be able to discover the Vox&Hops Metal Podcast. You can also sign up to the Vox&Hops Metal Podcast mailing list by going to my website, voxandhops.com. That is VOXANDHOPS.com. And when you do that, you shall receive one email a week containing all of the details of everything that happened in the previous week in the world of the Vox&Hops Metal Podcast. Do yourself a favor, sign up to the Vox&Hops Metal Podcast's mailing list. This is a party that you do not want to miss. The Vox&Hops Metal Podcast is brought to you by Sound Talent Media. I have 2 more episodes dropping this week, one on Thursday and another on Friday. But until then, remember to enjoy life, metal, and craft beer. Cheers, Vox&Hops heads.